Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for Mr. Voice Van's Part 2 of the Steelers vs. the Ravens pre-game analysis. But let's not take my word for it. Let's talk to number 52 himself.
Thanks. What's good? Thank you there, Ray. That was a warm and wonderful introduction. I appreciate that. Mr. Voiceman here. Yeah, I'm having a little fun with it tonight. You know, we got to do it that way. It's Ravens Steelers. It's Steelers week here in Baltimore. It's a good week. It's a happy week. It's an intense week. This is the best rivalry in football. Just taking some time out from enjoying the New Orleans Saints and Green Bay Packers game. It's a little bit closer than I thought. It's a nail biter going on right now. But that's not why we're here to talk tonight. Here to talk about part 2 of what you guys need to pay attention to in the Ravens vs. Steelers matchup. And this one's the Pittsburgh offense versus our new Ravens defense. And I say new for a reason, because there's one thing missing here this year that was missing last year, and that's called pressure. We got rid of Greg Madison because, as everybody could tell, 27 sacks, which was the league worst, isn't going to get it done when you're trying to disrupt passing routes and you're trying to get in the quarterback's face to cause those turnovers, which is what Ravens know we feed off of when it comes in game time. So enter Chuck Pagano, former defensive backs coach turned defensive coordinator for this unit, and he intends to have one hefty matchup on his hands as he goes against the Pittsburgh offense. But let's get right down to brass tactics. First and foremost, we're talking about the Pittsburgh offensive line against our front seven. And this is just as lopsided as the other matchup was. Well, maybe not lopsided, but the favorite has to be the Ravens front seven. Haloti Ngata holding down one of the defensive tackle spots, and then Terrence Cody, but hey, he is a mountain of a man. When one man on that line can hold up two blockers at one time and usually will prevent one of the linebackers from stopping the run game, that is a huge vital asset when it comes to getting open lanes to the quarterback. So if you throw him, Haloti Ngata, Corey Redding, who after leaving Detroit seemed to have discovered why he is such a good defensive end, and Terrell Suggs, not to mention the rest of that linebacking core anchored down by number 52 himself, Ray Lewis, you have to like our chances at least of being in Big Ben's face. So automatically, I put the Ravens up by 1. New pieces to watch out for, though, is number 90. Guy's name is Pernell McPhee. He's a 5th-round pick. Kid has got a motor like I've never seen. Every preseason, just every game, always right in the quarterback's face, always near the ball, always making some kind of impact. Kid's got a special gift, and just as most drafts go for the Ravens, you could tell this is where we feast on when it comes to finding those unrecognized people. Kid's playing at a high level, and he's going to be a force on that defensive front years to come. You also want to keep an eye out for Paul Kruger and Sergio Kindle. You all remember Sergio fell down the stairs, fractured his skull, but hey, he's back on the field. God bless him for that. But he also brings some talent along with him. He's not as gifted of an athlete when it comes to the technical skills, the swim moves. Plain and simple, he gets in his three-point stance, he comes up quick, and he gets after the quarterback. If you put a blocker in his face, though, he tends to kind of lapse a little bit. But Paul Kruger, they finally have a spot for him, and he's not disappointing the defensive coordinator. He's playing with a high level, high intensity. We haven't really seen that before, but at the same time, he was never really wanting to put the work in, and they never really had a place for him. Hey, you need to play lineman. Hey, you need to play end. Hey, you need to play linebacker. But they finally said, hey, you're a good outside guy. We'll keep you in the hybrid spot like Terrell Suggs. Let's make something happen this year. And he's taken that to heart, and I look for him to have a disrupting game as well. And Big Ben's going to be running for his life quite frequently, which kind of surprises me because a lot of pundits out there see Ben spreading us out 4, possibly 5 wide, given their deep receiving core in Pittsburgh, and trying to figure out the weaknesses in our secondary. This actually, now that I think about it and I actually tell it to you guys, it makes perfect sense. If you spread the DBs out 5 wide and you try to find those lapses in coverage, you cannot send the kitchen sink like Pagano Oshoni likes to do this preseason. So you have to at least give some note to the Pittsburgh Steelers in regards to the intangibles when it comes to figuring out where they're going to end up having to go. Now, I hate to do it, but I have to give the edge of Pittsburgh in regards to the receiving core versus the secondary. You've got Mike Wallace, who has become one of the legitimate deep threats in the NFL. Hines Ward, he's been doing it for a long time. We all hate him. We wish he would stop playing football so he could smack that smile off of his face, but hey, he's still there. And they also go out and add Jericho Cotchery, and then Emmanuel Sanders and Antonio Brown, the top 5. Y'all remember Antonio Brown? He's the one who turned Ladarius Webb on his backside and went for that 3rd and 19 completion down to our 2-yard line, which in turn cost us the game. Although, yeah, there were the drops by Hushmatan and Bolden, but let's not get into that. Our secondary this year is fronted by 2 very inexperienced starters in Jimmy Smith and Kerry Williams. Both guys have size, both guys have speed and strength, but that inexperience, I think, may come back to bite us in quite a few times this game. So usually in those defensive struggles that we seem to have, I think this is gearing up to be one hell of a high-scoring game, which is really rare for the Ravens and Steelers matchups. But I think you're going to see that firsthand this week coming up. Running game once again, defensive 7 for us. I think there's no way Mendenhall gets into any real kind of a rhythm. There is no way to establish the run. But if they are successful in spreading our secondary out 5 wide, 4 wide, and forcing our secondary or our safeties to drop down into pass coverage instead of being able to try and make plays on the football or trying to be able to get pressure on the quarterback, really that will open up the passing lanes and as well as the running lanes. So for right now, I'm holding Rashard Mendenhall down low for not really productive output. But if the passing game opens things up, that might become an issue in the second half. But for right now, I'm holding hope against hope that our secondary can stand up to the task and show them you got to beat us in the air because there's nothing for you up front when it comes to running the football. So, Ravens defensive front versus the Pittsburgh offensive line. One up for the Ravens. Pass rush seems to be there this year. The blitz schemes are much more intricate. They're much more sophisticated. Pagano runs a Rex Ryan style defense, and we know how chaotic the defense was, and we know how many quarterbacks were running scrambling for their lives. But the big intangible there, of course, is Ben Roethlisberger. The man has a knack for making plays last far too long. We have to execute finishing on our tackles and our pursuit of the quarterback. If we allow him time back there to dance around and run back and forth, these wide receivers on Pittsburgh are too talented and too fast, and at some point our secondary can't cover forever. Someone's going to get open, and God knows how far down the field it's going to be. So we have to execute precise tackles and precise angles, getting to the quarterback fast. The wide receiving core of Pittsburgh, I got to give them the edge over our secondary. I don't know much about them. It's kind of a young, experienced starting squad. The back end of our cornerback crew, they started for us last year, so we know that's where the experience is. But having those 2 guys, young guns, go up against the 2 and 3 best from there, I really don't like those odds. So I got to go with Pittsburgh in regards to the wide receiver weapons. And then once again, running game versus the defensive front. Yeah, I'm sorry, I got to go with the Ravens on this one. There's a new exciting vibe from this defense. There is nothing that's going to get through that D-line, and the linebackers are going to eat up anything else that may get past them. You know, they're going to be able to shed blocks easily with Terrence Cody in the front, so look for these guys to have a solid game. So, 2 points for the Ravens, 1 point for the Steelers. I'll be back for all the intangibles, the little extras, and my final prediction tomorrow. So, hope you guys enjoyed it, and I hope you guys all have a good night.